What's going on, family? This is Matthias here with another episode from the prep team. So today I'm going to talk about a very important part of prepping that most people tend to overlook, all right? So stay tuned, and I got a real good video for you. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is decision making, right? A lot of times people spend and put a lot of effort into prepping, but they never really mentally prepare for what it is that they're prepping for, right? You have certain situations that may arise, certain things that may happen, and you may have all of the necessary tools, and you may be well equipped to deal with that situation that may arise, but you've never taken the time to mentally prepare. And a lot of times that it could be the difference between life and death in a real life survival situation. So, what is it that gets us into proper decision making, right? What are the steps? We've never really been taught that. So today I'm going to go over it, right? There's something that's called an OODA Loop. This is a term that I learned many years ago, but it applies to so many facets of prepping, all right? So it's called OODA Loop. It's OODA. So it's 4 steps or 4 key steps that will allow you to properly make decisions whenever your blood pressure is high, whenever your heart rate is up, whenever the stuff really hits the fan, so to speak, all right? So first, we're gonna talk about observation, all right? That's the first step in your OODA loop. Your second step is orientation. Your third step is decision, and the last step is action, all right? That's what each one of those letters stand for. So we'll just go through them word by word, all right, and kind of explain what's supposed to take place during those steps. So, observation. The first step in your OODA loop is observation. During this step is your information gathering, right? This is when you're going to take everything that's happening. You're going to use your senses to compile or stack an abundance of information within your situation, all right? So you're going to basically make a mental note of the things you see, of what you smell, if you can taste something, what you can hear, what you can touch. You're going to use all of those senses to compile a data bank of information, all right, regarding your survival situation. This step is probably the easiest step because it comes natural to people, right? However, there is a key component of this step that people sometimes miss, all right? You get what's called tunnel vision. And so when your heart rate gets up to 150, 160 beats per minute, a lot of times tunnel vision kicks in. And the effects of your heart rate getting that high is you can barely see what's right in front of you, right? Your peripheral vision begins to go out. You begin to focus in on what's right in front of you. You get something that's called auditory exclusion, all right? Auditory exclusion is basically your sound going, right? You can have somebody standing 3 feet from you calling your name, screaming your name, and you can't hear anything. Why? Because you're so focused on what's going in front of you. So the way to get out of that is to constantly scan. Actually physically swing your head from side to side so that you can focus on what's going around you. And a lot of times that simple step right there will snap you out of that tunnel vision, all right? It will allow you to continue to take in everything that's around you and not just focus solely on what's in front of you, all right? So this is your observation phase. Next, we're gonna go to step 2, which is orientation. Now, this step is a very key step into continuing through the process of your OODA loop, all right? Observation, orientation. So now, in your orientation stage, this is where a lot of people freeze up. This is where you take all of the information that you've gathered during your observation stage. You take all of that information and you neatly compile it so that you can orient yourself in your situation. Because in a high stress situation, a lot of people, they're gonna panic. They're gonna get frazzled. And that's something that can literally cause you to lose your life in a survival situation. It can literally cause you to lose your life in a survival situation. You want to orient. You want to take a second, slow your breathing, calm down, and just compile everything that you've taken in. And it's almost like putting things in a folder or a file, right? So that you can go back and cross-reference and pick from and extract what data you need in that situation. You filter out the things that you don't need, and you actually take in what it is that you can actually use, what's going to be beneficial to you in your situation, all right? A lot of people get frozen up between orient and decision. This is where a lot of people freeze up. So it's important for you to calm down and slow your heart rate as much as you can so that you can clearly think about what steps you need to take next. So that's step 2. You've got observation and orientation. Step 3 is decision. So when you get to your decision-making phase, a lot of times people will freeze up. They'll freeze up. They get stuck between orientation and observation, and this never allows them to process enough to get to the action stage of their OODA loop. So in your orientation stage, all of the information that you've taken in, you've neatly compiled it. In your decision stage, this is when you come up with about 3 to 4 different solutions to the problem that you're having in your survival situation. You'll come up with the best decisions possible so that when you get to the action phase, now you no longer have to think about what it is that's going to happen, all right? In your decision phase, you're going to take and you're going to filter out everything that could possibly happen based off of the decision that you make, all right? This is when all of your prepping prior begins to kick in. All of the things that you've practiced, from fire making, from archery, hunting, shelter building, whatever your survival situation is, this is where you begin to decide, how am I going to use the equipment that I've compiled over the years or months or weeks or however long you've been prepping, or whatever your survival situation is, right? This is where you're going to say, what equipment do I have that can best get me to the solution that I desire, all right? Now, after you've compiled your decisions, you're going to choose which one you want to do. And at that point, you transition from decision to action. All right, you transition from decision to your action phase. Now, when you get to the action phase, a lot of people have this response called fight or flight, right? It's called fight or flight. Think about it like this. I'll give you an analogy. I don't know how old, many of you are watching this prepping video, but I remember back when you used to have on an office desk a thing called a Rolodex, right? If you're too young to remember a Rolodex, what it was it was a stack of cards that you kept next to your phone on your desk, right? And it had people's contact information. It could have been the plumber that you called 2 years ago. It could have been your sister. It could have been the accountant, whatever. But it's a compilation of files that you have that you roll through to find whatever person that you need, right? Your OODA Loop is that Rolodex. So now when it's time to call the plumber, all you have to do is scroll to his card, look at it, and dial the number. So the action of calling that plumber was second nature because you've already completed everything leading up to the point of actually making that phone call. And that's what the action phase of your OODA Loop is. It's essentially you using everything that you've compiled, scrolling through that Rolodex, and just performing the action. You don't want to get frozen up in here. The biggest thing is to do something. Whatever you've compiled in the first 3 steps of your OODA Loop, do something. Whether it be to fight, meaning to stay in the situation and try to take it head on, or whether it be to flight and decide, you know what? It's better for me to leave whatever situation I'm in and put myself into a different situation or a different scenario, right? But the biggest thing is to do something. A lot of people, they'll get caught in the cycle of the first 3 steps. They'll just get caught and they'll keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and keep resetting. And it will prevent you from ever acting. I was reading an article one time and there was this statistic, right? It said 70% of survivors die with over a half of canteen of water. Why? Because they got caught in that OODA loop. They were never able to decide, okay, with the tools that I have, what is the proper thing for me to do? And they get so panicked and so frazzled that they're never able to get out of that constant OODA loop going in their mind. So they end up dying with all of the tools that they had necessary for their survival situation, just because they could never act. Don't let that be you, all right? Take the time and practice these steps in your everyday decision making. Apply this to every facet and every area of your life. So that way, whenever you get to a situation that's high stress, now going through an OODA loop, it's like second nature to you. All right? So I hope this video was informative. I hope that you were able to glean something. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the Prep Team channel. All right? We've got plenty of videos that can help you in your survival situation, help you in your prepping. All right? If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, leave a comment. All right? Let us know what types of things that you want us to do or you want to see from the prepping team. All right? So we can get an idea of how to help our fellow preppers out there. All right? Stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll see you later. All right?